Hey everybody, James Robert Elliott here, and I'm here with David Pataki. And David is a business coach, and I'll let him explain more what he does. But we're going to talk today about trips to success by connecting the right messages with the right people. And it takes two things. And I wanted David to come on today because there's a lot of people who, of course, want to be really successful in 2022, but sometimes they're either not connecting with the right people, or they're trying to connect with everyone, or they're trying to connect the wrong message. The message is wrong for the people. So welcome, David. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, James. Yeah, just glad to be here. Business coach for a while, but should I give a little history, or how do you want to move forward
You
here?
know what? Well, let's start with some really cool quick wins for people, some cool tips, and then then we'll get
Sure.
into. I want to hear your story too. What are some quick tips? People only have a couple minutes to watch. What are some big tips or big problems that you see as well, and then what can people do about it?
Like the biggest issue that I see out there, especially with a lot of the Zoom networking and so on, is that people aren't getting the right message out there.
Hmm,
But that starts with what is your target market, or who is your target market?
right,
And a lot of people are always saying, what everybody's my target market, right?
can help everyone.
I always use the quick analogy of, you're a car insurance salesperson, and you say, well, anyone who drives a car is my potential target or prospect. Well, yes and no. I mean that truly you can insure anybody that drives a vehicle,
Right,
but you need to pick a specific target market so that you can make sure that your message speaks directly to that target market. So I always follow it up with say, well, do you know anyone that owns a Harley Davidson motorcycle? That would be someone I'd like to talk to, right? So that way you're narrowing it down, and you can start thinking, okay, what do the Harley Davidson drivers, what is their pain point? What do they want to look for in a message? So that's kind of the initial step of this, but it goes a little deeper. When it comes to the target market, you got to look at you know who it is, like as in demographics. Got to think of geographics, and you got to think of psychographics. So you can use those three areas to better define your target market. And the huge key reason for that is because the more you know about them, the more you'll be able to craft a message that actually speaks directly to
fair,
them.
fair.
And once you've got that figured out, your target market, then you can figure out what is their pain point. What is the main problem that they have that you can solve? And once you start figuring that up and narrowing that down, now you can start crafting your message specifically to that pain point or that problem that your ideal customer has. So, in a nutshell, James, that's what it's all about.
And that way they're like, wow, he or she knows exactly my pains. They're talking to me. It's like that. And I've had people tell me this, and sometimes they don't buy, but often it's a really great way to have people connect with you. And so I agree with you. I think you're basically in their heads. They're like, wow, he knows me so well. She knows me so well. They know me so well, whatever it is. And whoever it is, whatever it is. And there's a sense of trust, and wow, this person gets me. I want to work with them because they get me, versus someone that works with everyone, or someone that doesn't get me, or do they get me, or do they get not? Can they help me the best? I mean, experts are great, be an expert, but again, when you're an expert with a certain niche or target of people, then people are way more apt to trust you, like you, to work with you, versus generalist. I mean, there's a saying, if you have a brain issue, do you want to go to a brain surgeon, or do you want to go to a general physician? Right. And of course, general physicians certainly have their place, and as do the brain surgeons. I'm not knocking GPs in any way, but you want specificity. You want to go. I mean, you probably, if you have I don't know, if you're sick and you have the flu, you're probably not going to want to go to a brain surgeon, because they're probably not going to know what to do to help you with the flu, or I don't know, infection or something, right? So I agree. Get the right message to the right people. What are some of the other big mistakes? Then we'll move into some loose solutions. What are other big mistakes you see people making, David?
As far as the target market, or
Or anything in terms of marketing in general, connecting with the right people, with the right message in general, or just, yeah, I mean, weak sales. Let's leave it at that. And in terms of targeting and messaging.
Well, just go back to the problem. Okay, so the other thing is, if once you know the problem, then you can figure out, well, do I have the solution for that problem? Do I need to make any adjustments in the products or the services that I offer? And so, let's assume for a moment that you do solve their problem properly, right? So when you craft that message specifically to that problem, and then you have your solution. So basically, I use the conversion equation process when it comes to marketing. So it's interrupt, engage, educate, and then offer. So there's a four elements that I have in all the marketing material that I do. So the interrupt is because what happens, and I'm sure James, you're all over this as well, because our brain protects ourselves, right? With the whole NLP thing, there's a whole, we could go for hours all about
Yep,
that.
right on, right on.
But the brain protects itself from messages that you've determined aren't important to you.
Yeah.
Right. So when you're out there, when you're driving around, when you're surfing the net and all that kind of stuff, you're bombarded by all these marketing messages.
Yeah.
So your brain has decided to protect itself, and anything that isn't sort of on the radar, it avoids. It doesn't bring to your attention.
Yeah, right on.
But for example, James, if you wanted to go out there and buy a red Toyota, right? And you're thinking about it and you're driving around, and all of a sudden you start seeing all these red Toyotas around. It's because your brain or you've said to yourself that you're interested in those.
Pay attention
Now,
to
those red Toyotas have always been there, right?
Yeah.
I'm explaining that because that's what our brain does. It's protecting us, right? So you want the interrupt or the headline, the first thing that you say at a networking event. You need that to be something that's going to wake them up a little bit, but also speak directly to their problem.
Sure.
And if you speak to their problem, but on the other hand, if it isn't their problem, then they're not your ideal customer.
Sure.
So that's okay. That message will just go through. But if it is somebody that is your ideal customer, then that'll speak directly to them.
Right
So
on.
the engage is the the opportunity for you to provide the solution to the problem that you just identified in the interrupt stage. Then the educate is either the body of the ad or the post, or it's the how you back up, how you can produce that solution and solve their problem. And then the offer needs to be something that's important to them. It needs to be relevant. It needs to be irresistible. I like to say low resistance. A lot of the times, if it's a post and you're saying, call me for more information, you're basically saying, call me so I can sell you on my services. So that's high resistance, right? And what people are really looking for is they're actually looking for more information. So if your offer is informational based, now, don't get me wrong, there are some now buyers. That's about 5% of the prospects out there. They're ready to buy. So if they see the call me now, they'll likely call you.
Got it. So only 5%. That's so interesting. That's a good stat for people to take a look at. I didn't mean to interrupt, but that's something for people to really think about. So how do we get around that? And I'll let you continue with that.
Well, and that's where the offer comes. So they're actually on what we call as a buyer's journey. So they're why they should buy, why shouldn't they buy, right? So they're asking these questions to themselves, or it doesn't necessarily have to be a formal process that happens in their head, but it's something that they're going through. Like, I want to go to the chiropractor. Well, I should buy that or buy that service because I know it's going to help me. Well, why shouldn't I buy it? Well, it's going to cost me money, or maybe it doesn't work. But once you've sort of satisfied those questions in your head, you go, okay, I'm ready to buy. So now you become the now buyer. So in order to move them along the buyer's journey to be the now buyer, information is what does that. So if your informational offer is download my ebook or go watch this video, and you provide valuable information to that person pertinent to their problem, offering them the solution that helps them move along the buyer's journey, so that, maybe not the first time, it's 5 to 12 times easily before someone is willing to buy from you if they're on that buyer's journey. So you got to move them along.
That's that. So that's that takes, used to be 7, then it was 9, now it's 11, 12 touches before someone buys. And if you haven't touched someone, no pun intended, if you haven't touched someone, 10, 11 times, if it's only 1 or 2 or 3 and you give up, well, guess what? You've just set that, because it doesn't have to be 10, 11, 12 touches per person. Let's say you're selling tires. and correct me if I'm wrong on this, David, but they're looking at the research the other day for selling, let's say, tires, and someone has talked to them 3 times about selling tires. Maybe they saw a post and then an ad, and then they got an email, and let's say 4 times, and then they called. Still didn't make a decision. It can take up to 11 to 12 touches for them. So again, let's say they have 4 touches. You come in, you only touch them 3 more times. Well, that's 7. So that may not, and you give up. If you give up, that's why I say be politely persistent until people tell you to F off and stop bothering them. But often people are so busy, and I've kept on people for a year. I mean, obviously not all the time, but I stay in touch over the year, and they're like, thanks for keeping in touch. Ready to go now. I've been so busy. I was so crazy. Thank you for keeping in touch with me. Let's do it. And I'm like, boom. And if I'd given up and not kept touching them, not kept giving value, it's not just, hey, do you want to buy? Like David, you said, I like when people give some sort of value, whatever. It could be anything. Hey, I know your kids like hockey. Here's something cool on hockey. Or, hey, I know you like cars. Here's something neat on cars, or an article. Or, hey, here's an event. Or, hey, here, look, here's free tickets to a thing on cars, or whatever it is. But just find some way. Hey, I know you're looking to grow your social media presence. I thought this article was really helpful. Here, check out this article on social media, growing your presence. I think it'd be value for you. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be, hey, you ready to buy my thing yet? Hey, ready? Because that gets annoying, and you get, people avoid you, versus if you're someone who always gives value to others, you'll be usually the first one they pick up the phone for, or the first email they check. So that's a really valid point about again, up to 12 touches, David, because people give up, I think, too early. I'm not sure if you see that, but I think people most times give up too early. So my suggestions rather to people are, until they tell you to go away or F off or whatever it is, stay on them. Add value though. Don't bug them while you're ready to buy now. Add value. Stay in touch. Find ways to help. Be creative. What are your thoughts on that?
Right. Oh, for sure. And a couple points that comes out of that. You nailed it on the head there. Where most people, I'll tell you what, any of the business owners out there, your competition is not following up. Almost guaranteed they're not following up, or they follow up once or twice. So great, James, with that. If you follow up 3, 4, 5, 6 times, but don't just call them up and say, "Are you ready to buy from me? Are you ready to buy from me?" Not at all. You want to add value, but just circling back a little bit. Remember, if you know what their problem is, and you are able to offer the solution, you can squeeze that 5 to 12 times down to maybe 3 to 5 to 6 times, because you're offering the solution. You know their problem, and you're offering the solution for their problem, right? And guess what? Your competition isn't doing that. They're just saying, buy the tires from me. I've got the best prices. I've been in business for 50 years. Whatever, I got the best salespeople. Like, that those aren't benefits that the customer's looking for.
Exactly.
Right? Is there a guarantee? How do you back up your work? Is there any added value in your service? Like, do you, for example, with the cars, for example, every change of tire will give you a car wash, no extra charge. Cool. There's added value. Yeah. The other guys aren't doing that, so why aren't you doing that, right? So there's other areas to consider like that, as far as what are you bundling to make your offering better than the competition. Right. And a little known secret is that a customer will pay more if they think they're getting more added value than the competition.
Yeah, we're done. Yeah, and by you giving value continuously, why would they think you're going to do otherwise? Why would they think you're going to give them less value? So to your point, instead of, hey, discount to buy now, or hey, and yes, that can work. I sometimes say to people, hey, quick decision discount, it's a give get, right? Instead of just giving discounts for the sake of get discounts, tell you what, just so you don't go off and overanalyze this like some people do for a week or 12. Will this help you make a decision? Let me give you a buy now price, and it helps people make decisions. But again, don't avoid. It's a give get, right? You're getting their business versus the discounting and because you often don't need to. You often don't need to, and I prefer giving value, adding more to discounts, anyways. But like you were saying, keep adding value, and then people will likely buy from you because they're like, well, wow, David's my guy. Or Sally's my girl, and wow, she's been giving value over the past 1 or 12 months or longer, or whatever the relationship is. Why would I expect her to not give value? She'd give me tons of value for free. I can only imagine what value she'd give me, or he'd give me when I pay. Versus again, that whole discounting thing, and like you said, people trying to discount, or hey, you ready to buy yet? it doesn't work anymore, especially now when people are sick of salespeople and being sold to. It's all about value and giving value. That's who people refer, and that's who people buy from. In fact, there's a point I wanted to make about your past, the RAS, the neuroscience. We're talking about how your brain, your pay attention system, called your reticular activating system, will usually filter out most things in life, and only what you. That's why there's a saying: you only see what you're looking for. And it's so true. It filters it out, and sometimes it doesn't, in a way that if you have a specific message and a clear message, someone may still refer to you, even if they're not interested or never do business with you. And I think you find that with your clients too, David. Even if someone has no interest in doing business with you, or maybe they, I don't know, they work for a big company and maybe they don't need a business coach, but let's say they have a friend that's an entrepreneur. If you have a targeted niche of exactly who you work with, it gets people thinking about, wow, my friend Fred or my friend Jill could use this. Let me connect to you. Versus, yeah, I help a lot of people. I help people with their businesses, or I help people, make more money. Well, okay, cool. That's great. That's cool. And you hear a lot, oh, that's so good, or people need that. That's so great. But they don't refer you because they need like a trigger in their mind to wake them up and to get through those filter systems. Oh, wow, my friend, she's doing that, or she's dealing with that. That's one aside I wanted to make from earlier as well.
For sure. Thank you for explaining the filter that we have out there. You touched on something that was kind of interesting with the discounting. Like if you're just straight up discounting your product, like if you have a product that you discount, you are losing every dollar that you discount out of that. Okay.
Sure.
And what you need to consider, and much like yourself, James, I know that you have some longer programs. So, you talk about maybe a buy now price. Okay. So what you want to look at is what is the lifetime value of that customer?
Fair.
Okay. And then you can decide whether or not you want to offer them a discount at the beginning. But if it's the tires, for example, if you sell them for let's say it's a $400, easy math. Let's say $400 for $100 a tire, $400. You discount $25, right? or 25, 20. Let's go 20%, right? Let's go 10%. Make it easy.
Sure,
that's 40. That's $40. So if you bought the tires for $50, let's say it cost you $50 to buy and install, right? So now you're looking at $200. So you sell it for $400. You've got a $200 profit. You take 10% off of that. Now you're taking $40 right off your profit.
Sure.
And unless the vendor is giving you a discount as well, chances not. So now you're discounting $40 straight off your profit. So that's what you got to consider when you're moving forward. Service-based or long, like lifetime value of your customer. You got to factor all those in.
Right. Makes sense. And so any other best practices for people, best practices where, like we talked about, clarity, concise message. And I've had people say to me, but James, I'd love to hear your response for this one. Then I have a comment too. I don't know who I want to work. I just started, or I don't know who I want to. Why would I niche? Why would I narrow down when I don't know who I want to work with? So that's I'm going to help everyone. I'm going to say, and there's an inherent problem with that, a big one. But I thought I'd get your advice when people say, I don't know who I want to work with, so I'm gonna try working with everyone. I'm not gonna have a specific message. What are some of the downfalls with that one, brother?
Okay, before we address that, what I'd like to say is if you're starting, there's a couple of things to think about at the beginning stage of a business. First of all, are you solving a problem? Right? So if you're solving a problem, then yes, you can move forward. Then you go, okay, then I'm going to ask you, what do you want from your business? Or where do you want to take your business? So I would ask those questions right off the bat. What problem are you solving? Obviously, the bigger the problem, the bigger your opportunity is. And what do you want from the business, right? If you just wanted to, be a side hustle, do you want it to replace your current income for your employer, or do you want financial and time freedom, right? So those are the three things you need to ask yourself. And then you go, okay, so to answer your question now, okay, you want to target market, or you want to narrow down your market because you want to be able to speak. It's like one message does not speak to everybody. For a mortgage broker, for example, I've been working with her. So they have new home buyers, they have refinance,
Mhm.
they have investment properties, or they have home equity loans.
Right.
So there are 4 very specific niches. So one message will not speak to all 4 of those markets.
No. No.
So that's why you need to, I mean, it's okay to go after 4 different markets. You just have to realize you need to speak a different message to all 4 of those uh, areas.
Yeah,
So
or have a different ad, different website, different pitch, and do that correctly, exactly, versus one. And fair, you can hit different niches of people, but yes, exactly, it's got to be different landing page or different website or different ad or different post. Otherwise, you speak to everyone, you speak to no one, right?
right, and you drive down the road, and I'm sure, especially, well, maybe not so much in the city, but I lived north
Roads
of.
are horrible down here. I try to avoid it.
Well, I live north of Toronto, but when you're driving down any country road, you will see multiple real estate billboards. You're looking to buy or sell. Call me with a big picture of the real estate agent. Okay, I'm not knocking, any of those real estate agents, but if they're all picture, if you're buying or selling, what makes you different than
Yeah,
everybody else,
exactly.
right? Now, there's actually Get Leo, Frank Leo. I don't know if you've heard his. So
He's got the lion thing on it.
yes, exactly. So his market dominating position, or what makes him stand apart, he boasts his multi-million dollar marketing system.
Hmm.
So he says he's got buyers lined up. He's going to get your house sold because he's spent million. Well, he alludes, I don't know if he has, but he alludes that he spent millions of dollars working on his marketing system to make sure your house gets sold. So that is sort of his market dominating position. Now that is a bit of that isn't maybe what we're talking about specifically, but he picked a specific thing that separated him from everybody
Sure,
else.
sure. Yeah.
That's another thing that you can do along with the niche marketing here.
Hmm.
But if you niche market, you can build your solution better. It can be more custom. You can charge more because you are being specific on that.
Mhm.
It's easier to market to, and then you become known for that specific area, and word of mouth and referrals just
Yeah.
come flow from that. I know it was a roundabout way, but if you really truly want a profitable business, start off with niching. It's kind of like multiple streams of income. It's a great idea. In theory, it's an awesome concept, but you can't focus. Let's say you want to do 4 streams of income. You cannot focus your energy on 4 different streams of income. So focus on one,
Yeah.
get it to be profitable, successful, and then you can start building on a second target market.
Right on, and that's fair too. Even if you can target to 4 different people, and trust me, I've tried. You can make it work. However, it's very costly, time and money and energy. It taxes your brain to have to market multiple web pages or multiple ads versus one, maybe 2. One with different niches and say, hey, I help doctors, I don't know, communicate better with their patients. That's pretty specific. It could do better, but that's pretty specific. And if that's the only thing you're broadcasting out to the universe, whether you're doing pitches and 30-second pitches and meetings and networking, and that's what your post is about, that's what your podcast is about. My podcast is about empowering leaders, helping leaders be more successful, more fulfilled, get more people connected with it, more people to work with them. That's my thing, is great business leaders and business owners doing better, upping their game so they can work more fulfilled, make more money, be successful, and be happy. That's my niche. That's why I work with great leaders. Now, yes, a number of different people can be. I could say corporate leaders. I could say only business leaders. I could say only parent, because parents I think are leaders. Only parent leaders. I could say nonprofit leaders. I could get more specific. I find I don't have to yet, or haven't. But again, I found it was very, very, very taxing on my brain before to be working with all these different types of people and having multiple landing pages and multiple websites and multiple this and that. Very, very taxing, and it wasn't as effective and wasn't as efficient anyway. So these are some great points. Thank you. Any last? Go ahead.
I was
Yeah.
going to throw kind of a funny little on the target market there. I was just
Yeah.
speaking to someone the other day, and they're niched on selling or teaching people over 65 how to buy cryptocurrency.
Huh.
Now there is a niche market right there.
That's pretty specific. That's for sure. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That, like you said, that is niche. People are, and it is interesting too. You can use age and demographics like that, or as long as the pain is specific enough. I found sometimes the age doesn't matter as much. It's I help business owners with I don't know, left-handed syndrome, learn how to use their right hand or whatever, right? And it's really interesting because again, there could be people of all ages. So it's interesting. I find you don't always have to, correct me if I'm wrong, always have to use age. But again, the pains will probably will target the person and will probably have somewhat of an age range. I mean, kids probably aren't worried about leadership training, right? Or people in their 80s and 90s are probably not worried. Maybe they are, but most of them are probably not worried how to be, better leaders, have people want to work with them more, make more money, live more fulfilled. They probably, and the people in their 80s aren't. So again, sometimes you don't even need to worry too much about demographics, but have an idea, yes, who they are. But the words you speak, I specialize in helping blank, a specific market with blank problem. And you can say through blank. I find it's a very effective way without, shotgunning people and they're like, what do you do and who do you do it for? And then you'll get, oh, that's cool, or that's interesting, or people need that, or that's really great, or all very interesting, right? The Canadian version of interesting, which usually means something degree of go away, F off, I don't care, I don't understand, or I'm done. So I digress. But to any last, this has been very, very helpful. I think people are getting a lot of value out of this one. Any last thoughts, David, on, and then how can they connect with you? But any last thoughts on another best practice? Any other best practices in connecting the right message with the right people? Any thoughts?
Correct. Connecting. Well, just going back to the problem. I just want to address the demographics, the age thing. Now, you're right. It all depends, but and it does change, right? 20 years ago, people were having kids in their early 20s. Now people are having their kids later in their 20s to their 30s. But see, that actually does affect people's motivations a lot. So that's why age, sometimes age matters. And it's not maybe age, it's where they are in their life.
Fair point.
If you have an empty nester, or maybe you don't have any kids at all, like those two, they don't have the kids and the responsibilities at home or that type of thing, right? But of course, the older you get, like if you're talking to 60-year-olds, they could be dealing with their 80-year-old parents, right? So there's a whole other thing. And it obviously depends on what it is that your business is, right? So I would just say camp out. No, my one thing to everybody would be make sure narrow down your target market as best you can. Do the demographics. Again, it doesn't have to be exactly 25 to 35-year-olds, but it's, maybe they're in that, they've got kids that are 10 plus, right? Or they have no kids, right? Look at it that as opposed to age. And then, geographic, not so much anymore unless it's a product, right? Service. It depends on the service. If you're a lawn cutting business, clearly you want to make sure that they're in an area that you're not driving 2 hours to get to, so you're extra money on gas. And the psychographics, how do they think? How do they feel? What are their opinions? And unfortunately, political beliefs come into play and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it maybe not a big factor, but it depends on what it is that you're selling.
True. And you're right, because people like them. I mean, find common ground, find interest. You don't have to be fake. Oh yeah, you like baseball. Baseball's so great. If you hate baseball, I think it's the most boring thing in the world. But and that's okay. If you love it, awesome. Some people may think I love electronics and tinkering with cars and souping cars and boats and cool stuff up. Someone may think that's the most boring thing in the world. That's okay. But find common ground, and instead of faking it, just that's. And if let's say they love golf. And it's like, oh, golf, that's so cool. It's the best thing ever. Be real, Well, that's interesting. I've golfed, and this would be me. Like, it's like I golf a bit. I haven't golfed a ton. And I find more interest now in this sport because it's a great way to talk to people. And some of these courses are gorgeous. And it's a way just to relax and clear my mind and be walking outside in nature, looking at the beauty of the golf course. And that's a legitimate conversation I had with someone, even though I'll golf, I'll go to a 9-hole. And sure, it's enjoyable, but for me, it's more about the person I'm with and the beauty of the course. Then I love golf, right? So I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, I love golf, it's so great, because people can tell when you're being fake. So people like them. People like people with similar interests. Find similar interests. If it's scuba diving, I met someone the other day and we were talking about scuba diving, and a quick meeting turned into a half an hour conversation at a coffee shop. It was great, all about scuba diving, right? So you never know, find common ground as well. So that's a really, really good point that you make, David. This has been awesome. We're getting up to time. So how can people reach you? How can people connect with you? I'm going to flash your details. There we go. There we are.
Yeah, obviously there's my email, my website there. We do a Facebook Live weekly. We have a private Facebook group. It's called the 5% Club. We like to, so my partner and I, my business partner and I, we've come up with the 5% Club, because if you've written something down on pen and ink, you are in the 5% Club. 95% of people don't write their plan down or where they want to go. So if you write something down, yay, you're in the 5% Club. Love you to join our group. We have the podcast as well, the 5% Club. Look forward on all of your podcast suppliers or streamers and all that fun stuff. Just love to chat. And I offer a bit of a free assessment at the beginning of the conversation, so you can kind of see what numbers look like for your business. And we talk about strategy specifically about your business and answer any questions along the way.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I appreciate the time. Appreciate you joining us, giving some value, helping me, create better leaders, whether they're business leaders, whether they're, world leaders, whoever they are. I think it's a great thing. And so thank you for helping me contribute to the world and make the world a better place. And of course, make people happier, more successful, more fulfilled, and richer too. Because let's be honest. I mean, you can do some fun stuff out there when you have abundance. You can help people and give back also when you have abundance. So thank you very much, David. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Everyone, have your best day ever. David, thanks again. Everyone, go check out David, www.yourfsmatrix.com, and check out the 5% Club on Facebook as well. 5% Club, go check it out for some great resources. Thanks so much, David.